Yes, selling with SolarEdge, become a smart energy and energy bank expert. That's today's agenda. Thank you very much for joining us, and good morning. Before we get started, we want to point to the product sheets are available under handouts, which you'll see in the console. Q&A will happen at the end of the session, but as Michelle was saying, if you have questions in real time, in a real moment, please post them. Let's do this as an ongoing dialogue, and we'll answer them as we can. But we'll have a real Q&A at the end of the session. We'll be recording this session, and we'll send it to all the registrants at the end, so you don't have to worry about that. Also, at the very end, we'll talk about the NABCEP instructions. There is continuing education credits for attending this webinar, and we'll give you the instructions on how to do that, how to email us, and so we can send you the certificates. Once again, my name is Michael Goldberg, and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at CED Greentech. Most of you know CED Greentech, but if you don't, I invite you to get to know us. We're the nation's largest, actually North America's largest solar and electrical distributor. We have 70+ locations all over the country. Each location services about 150 to 200 mile radius, where we have trucks, our own trucks that roll every single day to send product directly to projects. And I do invite you to talk to us more so that we can support you, specifically about SolarEdge Energy Bank and SolarEdge equipment that they have, and we have in stock in our warehouses. I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today, someone I've worked with a lot, Michelle Spina, who's, as you said, as you met her before, she's the Sales Education Manager. Michelle, nice to have you today.
Yes, thank you, Michael. We love to partner with CED. We always have such great presentations with you guys. Thank you for being such a great partner with SolarEdge. And today I want to talk to this team about some of our new products, the Energy Bank. I'm sure this group has heard of it. Maybe some of you have seen it. If you see me here, you see that I actually have one right behind us. We got a lot of feedback from people in our trainings. Hey, we like these marketing photos that you give us all the time, but we want to see a real installation. So hey, we delivered. This is actually our training wall that we use for training installers. And so this is Energy Bank. This is our big guy, the battery, our new product. Behind me, you can see we have the Energy Hub. I know a lot of you are already selling that, the backup interface, and then the main service panel and the sub panel there. So this is what a installation actually looks like, and we're excited to tell you more about that today. But I also want to talk about just why SolarEdge in general, and when we're comparing just apples to apples in terms of technology across the industry, why SolarEdge really stands out with their advantages. So, you know, before we get started, I want to do a quick brag. Right, we are the #1 solar inverter company globally. We're in 133 countries. Just last week, we made the S&P 500, so we're very excited about that. These last 2 years have been about getting awards for our products. So Energy Hub has won numerous awards. We just won many awards for our commercial product, if you haven't looked into commercial with SolarEdge. And so we're really leading the industry in our innovation and through our experience. But I think that one of the things that help us to get there, and one of the reasons that brought me to SolarEdge, is really the attention to detail from design to manufacturing to end user product. SolarEdge really leads the way in that quality and reliability of our products. Some of the ways we do that is all of our products are tested in 4 extreme weather conditions. So we really cover extreme cold, extreme heat conditions on our products before they're sent to market. But additionally, each unit is traced and component test for full traceability for each component. And when we're thinking about the assembly process, think about that assembly line. At each station within that manufacturing and assembly process, we test that product along the way to make sure that it's working correctly and accurately, step by step. That allows us to indicate any issues or challenges for that particular product right at the time of breaking point, right? So we can actually fix that seamlessly and easily. We can detect it quickly before it goes out to market. And we also use a third-party reliability verification company. So we don't just rely on our internal processes, but we work with a third party to really level set and test us as well. So SolarEdge actually has 10 R&D facilities worldwide that we use to test, innovate, create new products. We pilot test on our employee site. So Cameron, that you're going to hear from later, is actually a pilot site as well. He has had all of our SolarEdge products on his house, I think, multiple times at this point. But at the end user level, when we're talking about homeowners and how we can actually support installers and homeowners after they're installed. No-call RMA has been very helpful for our installation partners to make sure that they can actually put in an RMA without calling into the service center. So all it takes is a quick training within our Edge Academy, and it allows you to submit for an RMA right in the online portal so that you don't have to call into the service center. Remote troubleshooting has been really helpful in increasing efficiencies in the field. And then mySolarEdge, when we're talking about homeowner-facing items, is our new user interface for the homeowner-facing app that is really allowing homeowners to interact with their solar system and their smart energy devices. So we will talk about that a little bit later and show some screenshots. I want to make sure everybody on this call has mySolarEdge downloaded on your phone so you can use it at time of consultation to interact with homeowners. One of the things we're really proud of is our new battery solution. One of the ways we're able to really innovate with that solution is we acquired a company named Kokum that was already a top 5 global battery leader in the space. So they were well known for, or are still well known for, UPS, uninterrupted power source services, as well as batteries within electric vehicles. But they got a lot of promotion and credibility through their battery that was in this solar powered airplane that actually traveled around the whole world. So that's what they're well known for, but they were already a top 5 global battery leader. They're working with us to manufacture our product. We now have acquired that company, and we're building a 2 gigawatt hour manufacturing plant just to focus on our residential battery. Specifically because we don't want those availability challenges that we've seen in the market with batteries in the last couple of years. So today, I really want to focus on 3 key areas. Larger systems with SolarEdge, allowing you to build larger systems and avoid electrical upgrades. I bet this team can really attest, let me know if you've run into main panel upgrades recently, potentially even more than the past. So we'll talk about that a bit. Add-on profits, these smart energy devices that we're able to get higher contract values from the very beginning, or add-on products later as we grow with that homeowner's appetite. And we really want to close out by talking about becoming a smart energy expert. And this is changing the mindset for the sales representative in the home from really a PV only sale to a smart energy solution for that homeowner. And it's going to provide differentiation for that company, as well as the ability to increase contract values and customer lifetime value. All right, so I want to hear from this group who is running into main panel upgrades more and more recently, it feels like. And what have the main challenges been with main panel upgrades? Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling the pain here in the chat box. What we have seen is with these larger systems, with the higher wattage modules, in a lot of cases, there are more main panel upgrades happening in the market. And a lot of times, sales reps are able to overcome the actual cost of that main panel upgrade by selling the value of an upgrade solution to the homeowner, right? But what we're seeing right now is that the delays in timelines are causing even more cancellations than we've ever seen before. So it has been a challenge in the market this last year in getting those projects over the line and making sure that we can install them in a timely manner. So what's happening with module wattage? So I want to hear from this group, where is your module wattage at right now? What are you selling currently in terms of module wattage? 410s. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so 365 to 395, 350 to 410, 480. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so this is such a trend right now in that the higher wattage modules are rapidly coming to market and increasing at a rapid pace. So I talked about higher wattage modules, what, 6 months ago, and guarantee that everybody putting in the chat box at that point was 350s, 375s. Even 6 months ago, we were at a much lower module wattage than we are now. So this is allowing us to benefit at SolarEdge because you can build larger systems regardless of module wattage. We're able to avoid main panel upgrades. But why is that? Well, SolarEdge, as you know, is kind of a hybrid system. We have the optimizers on the roof and we have the inverter on the wall. And this allows us to have a flexibility to install the same wattage per system regardless of module size. So our system works at a system level, and we are not limited at a module level like our microinverter counterparts. So what does this mean? On a 40 amp breaker, which I like to think of as kind of the tipping point for needing a main panel upgrade, on a 40 amp breaker, you can put an 11.7 kW system on that 40 amp breaker. So you have that flexibility with SolarEdge, regardless of which module wattage you're using. So this means with a 375 watt module, you're actually installing about 5 additional modules when compared to your microinverter counterpart. So what is happening with microinverters? Why is this happening? I think this group knows the higher wattage the module you're using, the more powerful the microinverter you will need. And what happens is because we can only convert a certain amount of energy from that module, we are now limiting ourselves to the amount of modules we can put on one string, right? So here's the evolution of what happened really in the last 6 months. On that same 40 amp breaker, when you have a microinverter solution, say you have a 350 watt module, on that 40 amp breaker, you could put 32 modules previously, right? So we were in a safe space. We were at an 11.2 kW system. But what happens when you move over to, say, a 375? We're now using a more powerful microinverter. In many cases, most cases, a more expensive microinverter, right? But now we're limiting ourselves to a 26 module system on a 40 amp breaker. But we like to think, well, you know, these are higher wattage modules. We can put less modules on the roof and still get that system size, right? Unfortunately, because we're limited, we are also limiting ourselves to the system size. So now we're down to a 9.7 with a microinverter solution on a 375 watt module. But what happens when we're going to a 400 watt module? I think people here definitely know this pain if you're using a microinverter solution. You are now at a higher powered microinverter and you are limited to 22 modules. So you have a 400 watt module, you are putting 22 modules on a 40 amp breaker, and where does that put us in terms of system size? 8.8. There are a lot of people on this call right now that are in markets that have a much higher average system size. Arizona, I'm looking at you, Texas, that has a much larger system size than an 8.8 kW system. So this is causing more main panel upgrades on at least half of these systems that you're working with. So we like to call this kind of the SolarEdge sweet spot between an 8.8, because remember, we can install, we have the flexibility to install an 11.7 kW system on a 40 amp breaker, regardless of module size. We're not limited to module size. So between an 8.8 and an 11.7, we can avoid many main panel upgrades in that region. So I would challenge this team to side by side some proposals, see if this is happening for you and if you're able to avoid main panel upgrades as a result of using more SolarEdge, especially with those 480s and those big modules that you're turning around. This isn't only happening though on a 40 amp breaker. I talk about 40 amp because this is kind of the sweet spot, right? So we're using that as a kind of a tipping point for a main panel upgrade solution. But when we're talking about 20 amp, 40 amp, 60 amp breaker, you're actually able to add more modules on every single level. So when we're talking about a 20 amp breaker, with SolarEdge, you're able to add over a 1 kW more solar on that system, on that string. On a 40 amp breaker, like we talked about, is about 5 more modules, over 2 kW more solar on that system. And on a 60 amp breaker, this is about 8 to 9 more modules, over 3 kW additional solar on that string level. Okay, so you're able to put more modules consistently with SolarEdge on these systems. So definitely side by side, take a look. We want you to avoid those main panel upgrades when possible. So let's talk about add-ons, higher contract values, increasing close rates. Would this team agree that we're currently at the age of add-ons in our consumer landscape? Just in everyday life, we are kind of in the age of add-ons at this point, right? And if you're not convinced, think about how many streaming services you're using at this point. Right, so I probably have 4 to 5 currently. It can go upwards of about 8 if I'm getting real crazy. But those are add-on solutions that we have every single day. We think about Nest, Google Home, these Ring devices, smart energy products that we're constantly adding on to an entire ecosystem. And now the smart energy environment is changing towards that too. So when it was PV only, we didn't really have many add-on solutions. We educated that homeowner on why solar was best, and then we had to walk away. At this point, we have add-on products, especially with the SolarEdge Energy Hub ecosystem. You're able to add batteries now or later. EV charging, easiest upsell product currently on the market. You can add an EV charger either at time of install or later, and you have the flexibility to do that along the way through that homeowner's energy appetite. So speaking of EV charging, who here has an an electric vehicle? Any electric vehicles on this call currently? Yep. Yep, looks like a lot of Teslas. Okay, so you need an EV charger in your home at this point. So what's interesting is 80% of homeowners that actually had an EV said they wanted to charge at home. So there is a huge preference to charging at home. And a lot of people right now are actually just plugging into a regular outlet in their house. The challenge is, I mean, for these people that have Chevy Bolt, Teslas, you tell me, how long does it take to charge your vehicle if you're just plugging into a regular standard outlet in your garage? Yeah, 19 hours. That's not something that's feasible for us, right? Forever, Nick says. Yeah, it's about 19 hours we're looking at, which is not a feasible solution. So these level 2 chargers are very, very helpful to homeowners in the market. So let's look at this SolarEdge level 2 charger. So this is a fast charger. It charges about 7 times faster than plugging into a standard wall outlet. It's a standalone product. So what's great is this can be integrated directly into your solar system. So directly into the inverter, not taking up additional main service panel space there, not plugging into the wall at that point. But if the homeowner wanted to tie this into the main service panel or wanted to plug it in, that is an option too, because this is a standalone product. This is an industry-leading 5-year warranty on this EV charger, and it's compatible with all electric vehicles, which has been really helpful for homeowners because a lot of homeowners have gotten, say, the Tesla charger, for example. But what happens when their spouse gets a different electric vehicle, or their friends come over and they need to charge, but they don't have a compatible charger? So this has been helpful to have kind of a standard in your house so that you can use with every electric vehicle on the market. Additionally, through mySolarEdge, through that app, homeowners are able to schedule when they want to charge. And there's a feature on this solution called Solar Boost Mode that allows you to charge directly from excess PV energy so you can charge your car a bit faster. And you'll be notified on the app when you're in Solar Boost Mode. So it's an interactive experience for homeowners, even with their EV charger. Pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about batteries. What's the current attach rate for your group on batteries right now? Let's put it in the chat box or the questions box. What is that current attach rate for your group? Okay, so some people not doing too much. Oh gosh, Gary, 95%. That's amazing. So some people, it looks like not getting into the market so much. Some people looks like 50, 25, 30 to 40. Great. So, you know, this battery solution, as we know, was a big California thing for several years, and now it has moved into virtually every single market. I was in Utah last week, and I was so amazed at the amount of batteries in that market. We have not seen that in that market previously. And this report actually indicates the interest for batteries in the market as opposed to when they're actually getting proposals for these batteries. So 74% of homeowners in this survey stated that they wanted or were interested in energy storage, but only 14% of those individuals were offered batteries at time of proposal. So why is that? Obviously, you know, expense, right? Some sales reps are concerned about the cost and bringing that on to the homeowner. There are assumptions made that homeowners don't need batteries or don't want to see batteries, they want PV only. But what's interesting is out of that 14% of people that were actually given a proposal with the storage solution, 50% of those people closed and turned into buyers. So what we're seeing is higher close rates, whether or not that homeowner even goes with the battery. Even being presented a battery solution gives a higher value to the product that you're bringing to the table and increases those close rates. So let's talk about the energy bank. This guy behind me. So this is our SolarEdge energy bank. It is a 9.7 kilowatt hour usable capacity at 100% depth of discharge. Something that sets us apart, and we will talk about this a little bit more, is peak round trip efficiency and system efficiency is high, very high on this product. DC coupled solution has that advantage. We'll talk about that a bit more. You can add up to 3 batteries per inverter in this solution, and up to 3 inverters per backup interface. The backup interface right behind me as well. What does this mean to a homeowner? How many batteries can they actually put on a SolarEdge system if they really wanted a large solution for their house? Somebody's good at math here. 9. So they have the opportunity to add up to 9 batteries for this system if they wanted. This battery can be wall or floor mounted and is rated for indoor or outdoor use. Most of the time we see it in the garage. You know, that's the preferred spot usually for homeowners. But as you see here behind me and in this image, this is what it would look like with a floor mounted solution. So there's a rack that it sits on. And if you are installing multiple batteries, you can think of it as the batteries are sitting one behind the other. So they would be stacking behind one another in this form. Okay, so let's talk about the efficiency. As you know, SolarEdge is a DC coupled solution. And because of this technology, it allows us to have higher efficiency simply because of the way the system is installed and how it interacts with each other. So in a DC coupled solution, the PV and the battery sit behind the inverter, which allows us to only need 1 conversion of energy before we can utilize that in the house. Okay, and so when we're talking about an AC coupled solution, and we can say, you know, the names Powerwall, Enphase, InCharge, those are AC coupled solutions. The PV and the battery work somewhat independently. So this is requiring 3 different conversions of energy along the way. And I like to think of it when I talk to homeowners like putting jeans in the washing machine, right? Every time we put jeans in the washing machine, we are diluting that color, right? It's kind of the same thing with the energy. We're diluting the energy every time we have to convert that energy for the home. So with a DC coupled solution with SolarEdge, you're seeing about a 6% increase in system efficiency. When we're talking about a battery solution, homeowners want the most efficient system. right? Because they're paying for a battery solution. They want that efficient system. So this will set you apart. Okay, so when we're talking about sizing of the battery, we like to, and we do a lot of training for residential sales reps on the battery solution. I would love to actually get with your group if you're looking for additional residential training. We would love to talk to your group even more. But we like to do kind of a 1, 2, 3 solution when we're talking about sizing. This is probably the most challenging part of the battery solution, you know, in any system. How do I size the battery for my homeowners? So a good rule of thumb is one battery solution is going to power 8 to 10 essential loads. These are smaller loads. This solution would be a 10 kilowatt hour capacity with a 5 kW backup power continuous rating. Now, when we're talking about 2 battery solutions, that's when we get more into the portable AC, portable heater, well pump. We're seeing that those are easily added to those 8 to 10 essential loads. And at this point with SolarEdge, this is another advantage we have. We are now looking at a 10 kW continuous power rating with 1 inverter. So once you put 2 batteries on that Energy Hub solution, you actually get 10 kW of continuous power and 20 kilowatt hours of capacity. So when we talk about you know, HVAC solutions, a electric furnace, those are super heavy loads, dryers, things like that. And so we're going to be setting the expectation that we need 3 or more batteries to actually power that home during an extended blackout. And I bet you're still saying, gosh, I wish this was easier, right? We have a solution for you. And I would love to take a quick look at the SolarEdge estimator tool. So here's our estimator tool. It's right on SolarEdge.com. And if you take a look at the screen here, you'll see Chris is demoing this for us. You can click and unclick different appliances in the home, and it will show you how many batteries on estimate you would need and how long you would have backup power as a result. So when you click, you know, you can click all of them on, you can start taking them away, etc. This is allowing the homeowner to interact with how many batteries they may need for their house. So again, this is directly on SolarEdge.com. It's been super helpful for sales reps in the home as well as homeowners to get a better understanding of how many batteries they may need for their house. All right. So I just wanted to close this portion with showing you the whole solution, what this could mean for your company in terms of an ecosystem of products to differentiate with in the home. So again, 3 batteries per inverter, 3 inverters per backup interface. You have the ability to grow with this homeowner's energy appetite. The Smart EV Charger is fully compatible with this whole ecosystem and works together and is integrated in this solution. Later on in the year, next year, you're going to see these relays and switches come out that's really going to help us to create an entire whole home backup solution for our homeowners and get a little bit further away from those critical or essential load conversations we always have to have about, you know, hey, this is partial home backup. Which 6 circuits do you want to back up? And that's all that's going to turn on during a blackout. Those relays and switches are really going to help us in that situation. So when we look at this whole ecosystem solution, some of you may be saying, well, this is a change in mindset for that sales rep, right? And it totally is. And that's why we like to do a lot of training for the residential sales teams, because we like to talk about it as becoming that smart energy expert as opposed to a PV only consultant. And what that means is when they go into the home, they're looking at that homeowner's holistic energy needs and not just PV, what's happening on their roof, what their utility bill looks like today, but asking questions about their needs in a holistic energy solution. So what does this mean for the consultant? For the consultant, this means higher initial contract values, increased close rates, and increased customer lifetime value. So higher contract values because you can add on products today at time of consultation, at that initial consultation. You're coming into the home and saying, in a competitive bid situation, right? You're saying, yeah, that's a great PV company, but we are a smart energy company, and this is what I have to offer you. And this is really setting you apart from whatever comparative or competitive bids are happening at the kitchen table. But this also allows them to hold on to their customers for a lifetime. So I call it reinventing referrals. We'll talk about that a bit, but it also increases that customer satisfaction so that homeowner says, I have a trusted consultant that you can go to, and they refer people to us. So for the homeowner, think about what this means for the homeowner in terms of a trusted consultant. Most of the time, even still now, and I've been in solar for 10 years at this point, but even still now, we are educating homeowners on solar and on energy on something they fully did not understand before you walked into their house, right? So they are somewhat intimidated, maybe, somewhat skeptical about solar when we first walk into that house. They are unsure, they don't know about that product, but then you build their trust. So for the homeowner, they now have a trusted consultant for all their smart energy needs. They have the ability to add on smart energy products as needed, as opposed to having to make that decision today to avoid costly retrofits in the future. So this is the ability to add on products. It now is a fully flexible solution that we've been waiting for in this industry. So let's talk about reinventing referrals. As we know, referral base is the best leads, right? They're the ones that close fastest. They're the ones that closed higher because there is a customer that is a friend or family member of the person that they referred, and you already have that built-in credibility and that built-in trust. But what if we reinvented the referrals, and instead of going to a completely separate person to sell them on a product, we just kept that homeowner close, that initial customer close? So what would that look like? Maybe today we're selling the homeowner PV only plus an energy hub, which is the fully flexible inverter solution that allows us to add on additional smart energy products. Okay, so this homeowner's appetite today is only PV. Great, we sell them a PV system. But what about next year? They now decide they want a battery. So you can go to them and sell them a SolarEdge Energy Bank because it's an easy and seamless adder for that existing energy hub because they decided they're going to go with the flexible solution. So that add-on is easy. But then maybe year 2, year 3, that homeowner decides, I need an EV charger because I have an EV now. But when you sell an EV charger, as we know, it takes additional solar to charge that car. What we see on average about 3 kW. So you can go back to that homeowner, sell them the EV charger, but also sell them additional solar. Okay, so now we have an energy bank at that home with an EV charger and a larger solar system. But what happens in year 4? Well, they have that electric vehicle, they're charging it. Now they decide those smart energy devices are out, the relays, the switches. I need to manage my entire energy ecosystem for this house, and I need another battery. So you're able to go back and sell them another battery and the smart energy devices. But as we know, homeowners generally, on average, stay in the house about 7 to 10 years, right? So this is your customer for life. And at this point, this customer's decided, I'm going to buy a new home. You've already educated them on the entire ecosystem of products. So this is an easy and seamless sale for you because it's a new home. You're selling them PV, energy hub, and energy bank for that new house. So this is kind of how we can think about reinventing referrals when it comes to the ecosystem solution. All right, so we're getting some questions in here. I'm glad. We will make sure we have plenty of time to answer those along the way. So as I mentioned earlier, mySolarEdge. So if you take anything away from this presentation, I want to make sure this group downloads mySolarEdge to your phone. The reason being is this has been very helpful in selling products to the homeowner and showing them what it would look like for managing their entire ecosystem of products. You don't have to have a login to view the demo sites on mySolarEdge. So if you download mySolarEdge, there is on the bottom right-hand corner something that says demo sites. Those are actually our employee sites. They're real sites, but you can show the homeowner how that solar, how the battery, how the consumption monitoring, production monitoring is interacting with that home at that given time. So in the home, you can show the homeowner that. An even better solution, have the homeowner download it on their own phone so they can watch it interact through the night. What we're seeing is this is selling batteries for you, because the homeowner can see it discharge at night, see that interaction with how it's working with their solar system, and gets them excited about going with a smart energy solution. A couple of other features that are exciting about mySolarEdge as it relates to a battery solution, and I want to make sure this group remembers that the Energy Hub is compatible with the SolarEdge Energy Bank and the LG Prime Series batteries. So a couple other features just as it pertains to the battery itself. When you have a battery solution, you will actually now get a pop-up that notifies you when you're in backup mode and will tell you how much on average, based on your current usage, you will have for the duration of that battery. So that homeowner is able to then conserve that energy as needed and track their battery life as that blackout goes on. Another unique feature is WeatherGuard. This just launched 2 weeks ago, and this is taking all the weather satellites in the area and automatically charging that battery to predict the storm coming. So that homeowner will be safe and ready for the storm when it hits, because their battery is fully charged at that point. So those are two really great features of mySolarEdge that help to interact with that battery. Okay, so I know that some of these questions are, how do I get additional training on Energy Bank? How do I get Energy Bank in my hands? Well, the first step is getting into Edge Academy. If you don't have a login for Edge Academy yet, if you have a login for SolarEdge monitoring portal, same credentials. So you go to SolarEdge.com, you go to the login button at the top, drop down and go to Edge Academy, use those same monitoring portal credentials to log into Edge Academy. That will give you access to certifications on all of our products, both technical and sales. And if you want to, and you're thinking about Energy Bank, there's a certification that is required to purchase the Energy Bank from distribution. So definitely get a head start on getting that completed. Work with CED on the orders and availability of the Energy Bank in your area, so that we can really get set up for the new year. Okay, we're going to give away a couple of things as a part of this presentation as well. I'm sure you saw it on the email. So we are going to give away either, you have a choice, an EV charger or an Energy Hub to 2 lucky winners. So the winners are going to be pulled after the call. So I want to make sure that you check your inbox to watch for the lucky winning email to say that you won either an EV charger or an Energy Hub. But we are going to pull 2 lucky winners. You'll have a choice on which one that you want, and watch out in your inbox for that lucky email. All right, so I want to answer some questions. Michael, did you want to discuss the NABCEP certifications on your site as well?
Okay. Hello there. That was such a great presentation, Michelle. Thank you so much. We'll talk about that more. I think that if you're interested in getting NABCEP certification, please send an email to training@cedgreentech.com. That's training, as you can see right there, training@cedgreentech.com. And in the subject line, say NABCEP. And so what we'll do is we'll get that, we'll organize it, we'll get the certificates done, and then we'll send you an email back with the certificates for continuing education units. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, great. So I'm glad we have some time for questions, because we had some really Awesome questions here. I'm going to turn it over to Cameron because I know you have been answering questions throughout. Were there any questions that came up that you thought we should mention publicly for everyone to hear?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer some questions live. I was in the question box answering a lot of those questions as the presentation went on. A lot of great questions, as you were saying. One of the most common questions we got was revolving around the capability of the batteries with multiple inverters. And I realize I'm probably a disembodied voice and I should share my webcam. Cool. So the thing you have to remember is that the batteries, whether it's LG Prime or Energy Bank, will power stack on the DC side. And so what that means is if you have a 7.6 kilowatt inverter, the Energy Bank can produce a continuous 5 kilowatts. So if you put one battery on one inverter, when you're in backup mode, you can only get 5 kilowatts out of that battery, and the remaining comes from PV when the sun is up. But if you have two batteries, we power stack on the DC side. So if you have two batteries, then you can get 7.6 kilowatts continuous from the batteries. So once you pass the rating of the inverter, you're limited by the inverter's capability. So for example, those same two batteries on a 10 kilowatt inverter can get you 10 kilowatts while in backup mode. So then the backup interface allows the connection of 3 inverters. So we power stack on the AC side as well if you wanted additional energy harvest. So the largest inverter that we have is 11.4 kilowatts. If you were to load that up with 3 batteries, then you could get 30 kilowatts, 34.2 kilowatts in backup mode with 90 kilowatt hours of capacity. So just a lot of flexibility. Not everyone's going to need, not anyone really is going to need that much backup power capability, but it is nice to have. And somebody did have a question about 60 kilowatt capacity. Now that's a lot of energy. That's a lot of power. And there's no, if you're talking about 60 kilowatts of capacity, then you're better off getting a generator at that power level, because a 60 kilowatt generator is like a commercial grade generator and that's a lot of amps. That's a ton of amps for a residential home. Okay, and then there was a lot of questions about the EVSE and how it really works with the inverter and then solar boost mode. So the SolarEdge Smart EV Charger has 2 options. You can wire it to an outlet or to the main panel and just have it as a regular EVSE that's controlled through the mySolarEdge app. And you can program charge and discharge and use the Homeowners Wi-Fi for the internet connection. Or you can hardwire it to the SolarEdge inverter, and the SolarEdge inverter, if you run a data cable between the two, will allow you to take advantage of solar boost mode. Now what solar boost mode is because the EVSE is wired through the inverter AC conductors, basically. That's how it's pulling energy from the grid. If you were to charge the car during the day, you could, in theory, pull 30, let's say it's a 7.6 kilowatt inverter, you could pull 32 amps from the grid and then add 8 additional amps from PV and charge at 40 amps. But that's not how most people charge their EVs. They usually do it at night on a schedule. Like at midnight, I want to start charging my car because that's when I hit my extremely low time of use rate. So there is a dip switch inside the EVSE that allows you to change the charge current. So you can go as low as 16 amps, you can do 20 amps, 32 is the factory default, and then 40 amps. So you can program the EVSE to be able to pull 40 amps from the grid. Now, if it's limited by a 7.6 kilowatt inverter, you're going to have to upsize that wire, right? So don't plan for the 7.6 kilowatts from the inverter. You want to plan for the 40 amps or 9.6 kilowatts from the EVSE. And then also what I did in my own home is I didn't have my EVSE quite ready. So I just wired an outlet to my inverter, a 240 volt outlet. So when I am ready for my EVSE, which I'm on the waiting list and I should get it in April, I can plug that EVSE right into the outlet and away I go. Then I'll have 32 amp level 2 charger. And then there was some questions about how do we get more training? And I think you answered that one, Michelle. You said, did you promote our online learning resources? I didn't quite catch that. I was typing away.
Yeah, Cameron's heard my voice far too much and he doesn't listen to me anymore. But yes, Edge Academy is where you'd be getting that. And we also are going to start, the reason why I'm standing in front of this beautiful wall is we're going to start some virtual classrooms as well for the installation of these products. And so you will get more information. If you're part of the newsletters, definitely make sure you are subscribed to the newsletters on SolarEdge.com, as well as Edge Academy is where you can get training starting today if you haven't logged into that yet.
Awesome. Thank you for recapping that for me. And then also I did want to add that there is someone made a comment about, hey, like the battery is super expensive. I have to do a main panel upgrade and our grid is really reliable. And I have net metering. Like, why would I ever install a battery? And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of that's a lot of caveats. Not all of us get the ability to have a super reliable grid with awesome net metering policies. So I would say that in general, you're right. If your grid is very reliable and never goes down, and you have great net metering policies, meaning you can sell to the grid at a 1-to-1 ratio that you take from the grid, and there's no time of use windows, then yeah, you're right. Batteries may not make a whole lot of sense. They're for early adopters who think technology is really cool. That's the best you're going to get out of it. However, if you are in a place where time of use exists, like, yeah, time of use arbitrage is a very compelling reason to get a battery. If you're in a place with an unreliable grid, such as Northern California, actually anywhere in California with our power safety shutoffs, then yeah, the grid can go down for 8 hours with very little warning. And so batteries make a lot of sense in those areas. Or like if you're in Hawaii and you don't get anything for net metering, batteries make a lot of sense. So the way I look at it is if you're just trying to do time of use arbitrage and get a battery to pay for itself, the break-even point is about 25 cents per kilowatt hour delta. So the change in cost there between on-peak and off-peak time, and you have to have that at least 5 days a week. So if you do that, then yeah, batteries will eventually pay for themselves, and I'm talking like year 10. You'll get there. However, if you don't meet that requirement, then time of use arbitrage and extra savings on delivering power during on-peak times is just a justification for your emotional investment of a battery to protect your home when the grid goes down. And as you guys probably all know, battery is a very large emotional investment. No one buys a whole home battery for logical reasons. For cash.
And,
anyway,
very unfortunately, the grids that are currently very stable have been fewer and fewer, and the NEM rates that are very wonderful have been fewer and fewer. So hate to say that potentially in your area in the next year, 2 years, we're going to see more batteries in that market regardless.
Right. And then another question came about around our 3-phase products. So we are working in developing a 3-phase battery. As of right now, there's nothing in the US, and hopefully we'll have something to announce later in the year, but we'll see. We'll see. And then there was another question about off-grid. So I'm very particular about when we use the word off-grid. So off-grid to me, and I'm to many people, means that you have a home, a cabin, something out in the middle of the woods, desert, that doesn't have the ability to be connected to the electrical grid, the bulk grid. That is an off-grid system, and Energy Bank and Energy Hub is not designed to be an off-grid system. There's great products out there that do that, like You can get an Outback or even Schneider. Like those are great products for off-grid stuff. SolarEdge is a grid connected thing, and the biggest difference is when you commission our system, we need an AC grid connection. We need an AC power to be able to commission it. So that's how we make our commissioning super simple, is with our setup and all the fun things that we do at SolarEdge. You need an AC grid connection to get that stuff to work. And so that's why we are a grid connected microgrid interconnection device, and not a backup, or excuse me, yes, a backup, not an off-grid system. So that's the key distinction there. All right, so another question came up about the split phase capability, 2,500 watts per leg. So our inverter is a 240 volt output. We don't carry current across the neutral. It's a sensing neutral only. So in our backup interface, we include an auto transformer that supports up to 5 kilowatts of phase imbalance. So you would be able to get 5 kilowatts per phase before the system, the auto transformer would heat up and the system would turn itself off to protect itself. And then we'd send you a warning like, hey, AC imbalance too high, and then the system would shut off to try to reduce loads, and then would come back on. And if the loads were still that imbalanced, it would try to reconnect 3 times, and then after the 3rd time, it would shut off and stay off, and then requires human intervention. So you just gotta, homeowner goes out, turns off the red toggle switch, turns it back on after reducing the loads, and then the system restarts. So the reason we do that kind of 3 shut off is there's a lot of loads in our home that when you try to power it, when they experience a power outage, they'll shut off and stay off. And I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. I know this is the last thing I'll say. For example, the microwave or the dryer, if they go through an outage while operating, they'll turn off and stay off. And so that's the SolarEdge inverter's way of kind of shedding those large loads. For example, my home was in backup and my wife didn't know. So I was microwaving some popcorn for the kids so they could watch some movies. And she just started running a load of laundry. Like, yeah, cool. Like, she's doing laundry, and then our power shuts off, and the kids freak out because we lose our Wi-Fi for 10 minutes, and then power comes back on, and my wife's like, "What happened? I just pressed start on the dryer." I'm like, "Oh, it's because we're trying to run the dryer and the microwave at the same time on a single inverter." So after I told her we were in backup, she understood, and we just saved that load of laundry for later. And I think she put the wet clothes actually out to hang, but that was it. All right, so that was the last thing I had to say. Thank you for having me. Always happy to be here. And again, my name is Cameron Stewart. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer. I am the product manager for all residential storage and our online designer. So shoot them over to me if you have questions. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, we're furiously trying to answer all of your questions privately as well. That's what I was doing over here while Cameron was doing them out loud. But there are some that are still outstanding, and we have this list, so we will reach out to you directly to answer those questions, because we want to make sure your questions are answered. Thank you for all of these questions. This interaction has been wonderful. I want to turn it back over to the CED crew for any final remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, and thank you so much, Cam, and the whole SolarEdge team, and thank you everyone that attended today. If you we want to connect you with any location so you can continue the discussion, please go on to cedgreentech.com/locations and find the locations that's closest to you to talk to a local rep. You please also email us at hello@cedgreentech.com. That's hello@cedgreentech.com. That shows up on your screen there.